Electrocast.
There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, I'm the founder, and my mission is to help ethical entrepreneurs and holistic healers to find their voice through spiritual coaching and podcasting. I'm honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through healing, kindness, innovation, purpose, and spirit. Understanding that to create collective change, we need to be the change. It all begins with us. Sara Webb is a resilience coach, empowering women to revive their innate power with meditation, breathwork, and body awareness. Having been engaged 3 times, divorced twice, and coming out of the closet at 40, she understands the pain that's possible through big life changes. She believes that a life of thrive is possible for everyone regardless of circumstances. Sara teaches pocket-sized techniques her clients can use anywhere to process stress and improve daily happiness so they can bring the best versions of themselves to their own lives. Welcome, Sara, to the Ethical Evolution.
Thank you so much.
Now, you're joining us from Florida, for those people who are listening. Now, for those who don't know who you are and have been living under a rock, can you go ahead and tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a resilience coach, Sara Webb, and you can find me everywhere at Sara Webb Says. That's SarawEbbSays. I help women, specifically those in the LGBTQIA++ community like I am, heal themselves from heartbreak by folding within so that they can unfold into their most authentic selves. So said another way, I help you get over your ex and get back to yourself.
Now, for those people who don't know your story, do you want to just take us back to your story and how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. I came out of the closet about 5 years ago after being in it and then really shoving myself firmly back into it and not dating women anymore when I decided I wanted to have a baby. And I'm raised in the South, and I knew I wasn't living my truth. I got sober, I came out of the closet, and all of that is uniquely intertwined because I had some, I'll give a trigger warning here. I had some deep sexual trauma and drank so that I didn't have to look at it. And discovered when I was pregnant with my biological child and I was sober for the first time and meditating every day that there were some things I really needed to look at. So I started changing my relationship with alcohol, and in the process became a meditation coach. And the heartbreak situation has really evolved because I got remarried to my now ex-wife. And although I've been heartbroken in the past in a number of different ways, that heartbreak was unlike anything I had ever experienced. And I leveraged the information that I had from my past heartbreaks and my meditation coaching and yoga knowledge and breath work and just created my own little system. I did hire a coach who was specialized in attachment theory, and now I help queer women do that exact thing. Go within. So, stop the downward spiral and spin within.
Now, this is incredible, Sara, because you and I have so much in common. It's not funny, actually. So I came out in my 20s, and I'm also a meditation teacher now. And also did all the healing and had the struggles with alcohol as well. But it's just funny. Well, it's not actually funny. It's actually quite traumatic that there's so many people who identify as women who are queer who are going through this and they're doing it silently, and they're hiding the whole thing. So, you know, people go, oh, you know, relationships are so much easier with women. No. Do you want to give us your background on that with your experience?
I mean, so my first relationship with a woman was when I was 19 years old, and I had several during college and thereafter. And I have a book coming out, a second book, that I'm just starting to leak out the information right now. I don't know, as we record this, I'm not sure when exactly this is going to come out, but Pride Month this year, 2024, I will be releasing a new book called Queer Hearts Break Harder. So in answer to your question, I believe that, you know, and also summing up some of the questions stem there, the relationships that lesbian women can have are so deep and profound and intertwined. And I say lesbian, you don't have to be lesbian. A woman who loves women, queer woman, whatever makes you most comfortable. We believe that all women are women, regardless of their gender at birth. And so we serve anyone who is going through a heartbreak because it is different. There are tons of relationship coaches, tons of breakup coaches, tons of heartbreak healing coaches out there. And when I went to look for one, it was crickets. You know, having been through therapy, whenever I go to look for a therapist, you always want to, if they're not gay, you want to see that they're an ally or that they're inclusive. And people say things, and then you get in that chair and you can see them squirming when you start talking. You know it. And so I shifted my meditation coaching from helping people with high functioning anxiety to situational anxiety. And that's what heartbreak is. It's a deep grief, and it actually activates parts in our brain that are akin to withdrawal when you're coming off of a drug. It's very similar to grief when someone dies, but in some ways it might be worse because they are still alive, and because we do want contact with them. We are very motivated to contact them, and they may have blocked us. They may have just established no contact. Some of my clients come through the door and they say, well, there's a restraining order because I tried to contact her and she's ridiculous. And, you know, there's all kinds of things that can happen in straight relationships, all the whole pansexual rainbow alphabet. We are all inclusive here. But I think that when there's estrogen involved at all, we are more prone to the nesting. So we bring that U-Haul second, third month at least. And we are really wanting to connect and to lean on one another for everything. And then when it falls apart, it is so much more painful. And sometimes, you know, I hear my clients say things like, I'm not even sure what decisions were mine and what we were going to build a family together. We were going to move to this city. I was going to change jobs. And it's like, that's what my coaching centers on. It's like, let's get back to you. Let's start with the roots of who you are. Who are you as a person in your core? And then talk about the routines that you're doing, and then look at the goals that you have. Like, you know, you want to feel secure. You want to not see her name and end up in a puddle or unable to work for 3 days, or, you know, it affects our productivity. It affects our sense of safety oftentimes. So I absolutely love what I do. I get to do this, and it brings me so much joy. My clients have experienced such release, and every time we get off a coaching call, they're like, thank you. This has been so helpful. And during the entire 9-week program, we're communicating via Marco Polo or other applications like email and text message, just to communicate about the journal entries that they're doing, journal prompts I'm sending them, breathwork, meditations, body embodiment meditations. And then we start to layer in, okay, what are the disempowering things that we're saying to ourselves about ourselves? Because, you know, we have 70,000 to 90,000 thoughts every day, and 95% of them are the same as the day before, and 80% are negative. So looking at the thoughts, this is how we create our reality, as I'm sure you know. Repeat them.
Life is hard, but finding a really great podcast makes the days go by so much easier. Hi, Hi, my name is Blue Telusma. I'm a writer, an emotional intelligence coach, and the host of Humanize with Blue Telusma, a podcast where we believe that when you humanize everyone in the room, a great conversation is almost guaranteed. Join us every week here on Electricast as me and my guest co-hosts unpack big topics and interview even bigger personalities with a sense of humor and a dash of mischief. If you're looking for a new best friend in your head, we've got you covered.
Electricast.
Now, one thing that you were, talking about previously, you mentioned attachment. And I notice in particularly same-sex relationships with women, that is a big thing, is that you tend to attach to each other more than if you were in, more of a heterosexual relationship. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, attachment patterns are something that I encourage my clients to look at, whether, they're anxious avoidant, purely avoidant, more anxious, or, the disorganized. There's the ones that are fixated. Different authors call them different things. But yeah, I think that if you've got two anxious partners, then the tendency for a lot of codependency can develop, and that can develop when one of the partners is avoidant as well, because the anxious one really wants all the attention and wants to be validated and wants to feel loved by spending time with the partner. And I think it's, pretty ubiquitous that a lot of the people in our community have trauma. And oftentimes these attachment styles that we learned in childhood are rooted in trauma of some sort. It doesn't have to be childhood trauma. It can be adolescence. It can be adulthood. But something taught us that we need safety in another person, or that another person isn't safe. And either way, my coaching is the same. We are looking within. It's custom according to what the person needs. But terms like abuser and narcissist aren't helpful, because it's pointing a finger at someone else, which we know what happens. There are three fingers pointing back whenever we point a finger. So the answer is to look at, what are we doing? What are we thinking? How can we control our circumstance and begin to look through the past patterns? It's like a junk drawer that we haven't opened. And how do we do that? We go within the body and we find these literal vibrations and begin to pay attention to them. And then as my clients start dating and going out into the dating scene, then they're able to be more in touch with their body. And so then they can see how they feel vibrationally on the date, see how they feel inside their bodies afterwards. That way we keep everybody safe. Another thing that women are, I don't know if it's exactly biologically or just socially predisposed to, is people pleasing. We say yes when we mean no, and we say no when we mean yes, and we try to think about what they want us to say, and we try to be the person that we think they want us to be, which is a lot of assuming, and it ends up we end up in trouble, and we end up abandoning ourselves, not being true to ourselves. And then even that isn't right for our partner. And so and I'm speaking for myself here, we end up losing the relationship that we tried to salvage by not being ourselves. And we end up befuddled and frustrated and not understanding why, like, what if I, all this rumination afterwards, where did it break down? Like, what was it when I said that? Was it when I said this? Like, what if I would have done this? All these hypotheticals that we're trying to replay over and over again to try to figure out this massive heartbreak that lives vibrationally within our bodies. I mean, there are billions of bits of data out there, and the human brain can process around 11 million bits per second, but we're only conscious of between 40 and 50 of the 11 million bits per second. So I did the math. That means we're conscious of 0.004%. 99.96% of reality is coming into our subconscious, not our conscious mind. And so we have 11 million sensory receptors in our bodies, 5 senses, 11 million sensory receptors. 10 million out of the 11 million have to do with our sight. So how do you access that 99.96% of information? You shut off 10 million of your 11 million sensory receptors and go inside and find where it lives there.
I really, really love what you said about pointing the finger. and having three fingers pointing at you and one at another, and that we really need to look at ourselves because, you know, that's the whole premise of this show is that the change begins with us. Yes. So if we don't look in the mirror and look at what our role is in something, how do we expect to change? So I absolutely love that reframe.
I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, blame, shame. When we're caught on the drama triangle, it's not going to help anybody.
And I don't know about you, but I know there's many in our community who may just continue to go through the cycle instead of healing and breaking that pattern. I know I did it for a while where I went through one relationship. I'm like, okay, well, the problem's not me, it's them. So I'll just go somewhere else. And again. Then I went, you know what? Maybe it is me. So, you know, I see these patterns happen in our community. Do you see that also with your clients?
Yeah, when we figure out we're the common denominator there, we figure out, oh, I'm the only one in all of these relationships. Let me look at it.
That's it. Yeah, like when you look at it, what's the thing that's always there? It's you, right?
Right, exactly. Yep.
So what are some of the tips that you're giving people to sort of break through these patterns and to have that resilience if they go into another relationship or not and they just want to be a stronger, better them?
Well, my book is breaking down common myths about heartbreak and then reinforcing some maxims about heartbreak. So the first one I'd like to say is time does not heal all wounds. You have to be intentional. And another is redefining what resilience is. I always say fall down 9 times, get up 10. Now, if you were running when you tripped and you fell, that doesn't mean that resilience means you get up running. Resilience means you get up. And I teach grit without the grip. So that means that we can hold something a little bit more lightly and be more in flow than trying so hard to understand this thing or to manipulate it or to get inside of it. If we can just begin to like be in touch with our breath, be in touch with our bodies, notice the things that our brain has been programmed to tell us and consciously work to change those patterns. Then we can have that grip without the grit and really embody that new definition of resilience that like it really doesn't mean that you have got to go full out immediately. It's just about keeping on going. And that might mean that you go through it. Like right now, for example, I am single and not available. I'm going through some deep healing. I have been in relationship after relationship. I did have a little bit of a single part before I married my ex-wife, but I was kind of like dating around, you know, and I wasn't decidedly single. And I really want to focus on making sure that I am in tune with what's going on inside my body so that when I am out with people or meeting people, I mean, I'm not swiping, you know, there's no swiping going on here. But you know, if I were to meet somebody in the wild, well, let me just make sure that my body is saying that this is a safe space. Because we will logic our way out of a number of things that may not be good for us. When our gut, which has more receptors than our brain, as you know, the brain receives more signals from the gut than any other area of the body. And all this information, this 99.96% of information, millions of bits of data a second are hitting our gut. It's our solar plexus. It's our personal power. And if we can notice whether or not we're breathing properly, that's the beginning. Just begin. This is a major tip I tell everybody. Just pay attention to your breath. Pay attention to your body. Pay attention to what your mind is saying. Yes, but get more in touch with what your body is telling you and learn to listen to the yeses in your body and the nos in your body.
which is really tuning into your intuition, right? So I know for me, and I've taken a long time to just get in touch with what I was feeling and what I want. And because I was the people pleaser, I was the person who, would do anything to make everything right. And also, just would do whatever it took to the point where it was to my own detriment. And so, over time, you lose who you are. And then when you start to then look at going out with someone else, you're kind of like, I don't accept this kind of stuff anymore. So it's actually having new boundaries for yourself, all of that kind of stuff. I learned all of that on my journey, but it's intuition plays a huge part in that, doesn't it?
Yeah, people call it different things like going within, meditation. It's been proven that the more we meditate, the more we spend time with ourselves, the higher our intuition is. And I'm really at that intersection of science and spirituality. And I believe that when we meditate deeply, we are accessing the quantum field of all possibility. And that to me is God. That's all creativity, all possibility, all knowledge exists there. And I get answers in meditation. This is why they say there are answers in silence. And sometimes it's not an answer I'm looking for. It just comes when we remain open. The more time we stop participating in the 3D world, which the 3D is deny, distract, dissociate. Right. And it's so easy to do, to be on the phone and going here and looking at this thing. And it causes us to be in a constant state of panic. They're calling it email apnea, tech apnea, where we notice that we're holding our breath while we're checking emails or working or scrolling because we don't know what's coming next. We're like gripping, waiting for what's going to hit us next. And that's not a healthy state. We need parasympathetic nervous system activity, not just sympathetic. Not just highs that are happy and lows that are challenging and stressful.
And meditating really helps us to sort of calm that down. I was actually speaking to a mechanical engineer recently who's come up with a solution for calming the nervous system to permanently get rid of anxiety. Now, if we paid more attention to our nervous system in more ways, imagine the life we could live.
Yep. Agreed.
Just incredible. But we think it's all in our brain, don't we? When it's not.
Yeah. Where is the mind? Does the mind exist in the brain? Where is consciousness? We can put our consciousness in our right big toe.
Exactly.
We can concentrate all of our awareness in an area of our body. So the mind, I believe, is a combination of body awareness and breath. Because the ancients told us that our prana, which is interchangeable with breath, is our life force. And you think about it, we can survive for weeks without food, a few days without water, but only a few minutes without our breath. It is our life force. That's the beginning of life when a baby is born. And when we take our last breath, that's it. Necrosis.
I loved how you said that because I've actually got a tattoo on my arm that says exactly the same thing.
Really? What does it say?
It says, it's the first thing we do when we're born, the last thing we do when we die, but it's the breaths in between that count.
Oh, yes. Beautiful. I love that.
So when you forget to breathe, just look down.
That's right.
Now, I just want to get back on track with resilience with you, Sarah, because what you reminded me of when you were talking about getting back up again was my very own podcast the very first podcast I ever did, which was about 5-6 years ago now, which was called The State of You. And I was telling my story of all these times I'd fallen down and I was like, why am I telling people all of this? Like, what? I'm a huge failure. What am I doing? And then I realized it wasn't about the struggle. It was about getting back up again, and it reminded me of a story that Dr. Wayne Dyer used to tell about, a trampoline. What goes down must come back up. So really, we just need to remember that we're on that trampoline and we can get back up again and keep going.
Yeah. It's a sine wave. Everything is vibrating. Everything is oscillating. Everything in the universe has vibration, whether it's our voices or the desk in front of us. It's slowly moving. I mean, that's quantum physics proves, is that even solids are moving somehow. And Dr. Sue Morter likens it to a sine wave that we see. You know, it's literal frequency. And so when we're on that high, I'm trained as a coach in her coaching program. When we're on that high, we communicate with clients and say, all right, you're experiencing a big expansion. You know what's going to happen. So anchor in this feeling and know that when you're in the trough, in the down part of this, you know, everything that is like one of the laws of nature is for every action, one of the laws of physics, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so when we're in this big expansion, just like, you know, what's better, the inhale or the exhale? Well, they're both vital. We need both. We can't be in this elevated state all the time. We have to come down, and we need to remember that we're going to get back to an elevated state again when we're in that trough.
Yeah, and this is it, is we get so stuck in the down, don't we, that we sometimes can't see the up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But in the up, we're like not thinking about the fact that it's going to go down, but we don't necessarily want to wish it. We just want to know this too shall pass. It's just like the waves at the ocean, or the cycles of the moon, or the seasons, or our heartbeats. All of it is contrast, and it's all crucial. It's all connected.
I love it. Now, Sarah, I know you're active on your socials. If people want to get in touch with you and learn more about what you do, where can they go?
At Sara Webb Says on Instagram, on Facebook. I have a brand new private Facebook group, and it is called Healing Lesbian Heartbreak. You can apply and answer some questions to get in. I'm doing some lives and offering meditations and journal prompts and stuff for those in the group. And so, yeah, you can find me on my website, sarawebsays.com. That's SARAWEBBSAYS.
Love it. Now, I've got the final big question for you, Sarah, and I can't wait to hear what your response to this one is. What's the change you'd like to see in the world, and how can we bring it to life?
I just led a meditation for world peace today, and we literally sent love and peace and harmony out from that room, from our bodies, and it sounds so trite. I wish that, you know, of course, that's my big wish, and I think it all begins with awareness.
Yeah.
If more people would stop just going through the motions and actually take a look at what they're doing and saying and how they're breathing, that's the beginning of change. Once we are aware, we can't go back.
Yes, that's it.
So I really just wish for more awareness, and then everybody would be fully on their healing journey. I think everybody's on a healing journey. But once we have that awareness, can't put it back in, right? That's
it. Once we see behind that curtain, we got to keep going, don't we?
That's right.
Sarah, I have loved every second with you. Thank you so much for being a part of the Ethical Evolution.
Oh, this has been a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're ready to be the change and would love to work with me on finding your voice through spiritual coaching or creating your own podcast with impact, visit ethicalchangeagency.com. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's growing every day with great content and highlights you may not have heard on the podcast. In addition, please subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or Apple, and why not leave a 5-star review? If you're not following me on social media, you can find me at Ethical Change Agency on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube, and at DJ Bindi on TikTok and Instagram. If you're interested in diving deeper into the ethical evolution with me, I've created a membership program that allows me to bring you more in-depth exclusive content without relying on paid ads. My goal is to deliver members way more value than the cost of the subscription. Benefits include Ask Me Anything episodes. I've interviewed hundreds of people from around the world, so imagine what you could ask. Access exclusive bonus content only for members that focuses on the downloads I get through my conversations that include actionable tips. Support Ethical Change Agency and the Ethical Evolution podcast on its mission to amplify change makers who make the world a better place. Access to global connections who can help you make greater impact in the world. Meditate with me and discounted spiritual coaching or podcast consulting with me at 15% off. That value alone pays for your membership. For only $7 a month or $70 a year, you can access all these benefits of an Ethical Evolution Emergence membership. If you want to learn more and access these benefits, head on over to ethicalchangeagency.com.
Welcome, explorers of the human experience. This is Let's Talk Soul, and I'm your host, Claudia Monticelli. We're not afraid of the great mysteries of existence here. Soul versus consciousness, we're on it. Spirituality versus science, we've got that covered too. Join us in navigating these profound topics with wisdom, curiosity, and a dash of audacity. Whether you're a spiritual veteran or just starting your journey, Let's Talk Soul is your passport to the unknown. Let's Talk Soul, diving into the depths of the human spirit. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you a fan of classic cinema or a young person who wants to discover the best films of all time? Do these legendary movies still hold up?
On the Generation Film podcast, two guys who grew up when movies dominated the culture share a great film with a panel of young movie lovers and see how it plays for today's generation.
We discuss changes in storytelling styles, representation,
The making of each film, its initial reception, and how its meaning has changed over the years.
Join us as we explore cinema classics across generations on Generation Film.
Electricast. Electricast.